FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Buzianis, no call! Score!
Salamini for Cole. Cole on the run. Shoots. 2-0.
Lazanovsky with the free kick. Launches a rocket! Trimboli, what vision! Blasts.
Yes!
That's it!
Miljevic.
Beautiful ball! Here's Bozanic. They might have won it!
The Pioneers with George Donikian and George Kotsanis on FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Thursday has very quickly become my favourite day of the week on FNR, and there's one very good reason. George Kotsanis, how are you?
Good, thanks, George. Good to be
Survived
with
Greek
you.
Easter, did you?
We got through Greek Easter, got through a couple of Easters.
All the kuluraki you could eat,
And Sureki.
and sureki,
Yeah.
coloured eggs and everything else.
All good.
Hey, and you've come up trumps, mate. You've discovered.
Don't sound like you're surprised, Georgie.
Well, no, but you know, it is radio, and we
Okay.
need to entertain.
Okay.
And I'm reminded that Pioneers has been from day one finding superstars from the past, people who've made a fantastic contribution to the game. And we've invited them on air to speak.
Correct.
Males and females, they've been fantastic. We need to get some more
Correct.
girls up. The Pioneers has managed to find yet another Scot. I don't know how you do it.
I told you, it's
you
my
have an
Scottish
inexhaustible,
background.
you have
Scottish
an
background.
inexhaustible supply of Scots.
Mm-hmm.
And dare I say, I'm not surprised, another forward.
Entertainer.
Yeah, and a young guy too, born
Goals
in
entertainer.
1955. Yeah?
Yes, kicker.
And he's got a birthday coming up real soon, 26th of April.
On Derby Day.
On Derby Day.
South Melbourne.
And you know
Heidelberg.
what? When you say Derby Day, this man knows derbies, because the one thing he brought was always this ability to find Gary Cole or score
Himself.
like Gary Cole. Please welcome the one, the only.
Jamie Paton, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting me. Nice to meet you, George the Bad and George the Good. Obviously, George the Bad's hairless and George the Good's Heidelberg. And thanks very much for inviting me here, and I'm looking forward to a lovely night.
He promised me that he would sit close to the microphone, and you know what he did, don't you? He sat back, relaxed, securing the knowledge we weren't going to ask him anything too clever, and sure enough, he's about a foot away from the microphone.
We'll get him.
Come on,
you'll
Jamie, get into the
this.
position. Key.
Getting into position at the right time. So I'm quite relaxed back here while you guys are talking, and when I want to talk, I'll move forward to the microphone like I'm doing just now. And you guys should know that. You work in the media. You should understand. Get away from the microphone. You've got nothing to say.
All I understand
And in
is...
your case, George, that should be quite a lot.
All I know is that Kotsanis has got a host of questions.
I have. So get close
And he
to the
wants to take you
microphone.
way back.
I want to know your very first memory of football.
My first memory of football was being a little boy who could just about walk a little bit. And fortunately, where I lived in Glasgow, we had two little rings right in front of the laneway in front of our house. And we played football there from when we were about 6. And it was wonderful. And it actually created the great thing of competition, because one side of the street played on one oval and the other side of the street played on the other oval, and then on the Sunday they play against each other, and it was wonderful. It created great competition. It created great memories and moments of it sliding about in mud, and that was football was growing up as a little boy. We played in the street. And how wonderful was that?
For hour upon hour.
Oh, the game did not have... There was only one final whistle.
Right.
And the final whistle,
Dinner time.
which when Mum went, James, it's dinner time! Which meant you had to get in. And then you tried to sneak back out again so they could keep the game going.
Fantastic.
Great memories.
You started your football career with Queen's Park in Scotland.
Yeah, yes, I did.
How did you get to Queen's Park in Scotland? Were you close nearby, or did you have
no.
some friends who had acquaintances who had connections?
None of that. What happened was, as a boy growing up, I was quite a talented football player, sort of the best football player in the street, which was great. Made sure nobody belted you up. But I was never that interested in trying to go forward in football. But I played with the Boys Brigade in my school, and that was all football was about for me. And then when I got to 16, and I've gone, I'm getting out of the Boys Brigade, and I thought, shit, what am I going to do to play football? And so from there I've gone, and somebody said, why don't you go and play for Partick Thistle Boys Club? And I've gone, oh, that would be interesting. And I'm going, why would I play for Partick Thistle Boys Club when I've already been asked to play for Celtic Boys Club and Rangers Boys Club? Celtic Boys Club ground was 500 yards away from the house. But then again, I'm a Rangers supporter, so Celtic Boys Club just was not happening.
Out of the question.
Yeah, totally out of the question. And so I went and played for Partick Thistle Boys Club for 4 weeks, and decided, like, travelling diagonally across the extremities of Glasgow to a place which was really quite violent, it was not really a good idea. And I said, well, that's that. And I said, so I stopped and I went, no, I'm not going to play in there. And one of my father's friends said, look, I know a guy at Queen's Park. Not Queen's Park, the proper Queen's Park,
No.
but the Queen's Park Youth and Community Centre. And so I went and played for them for about 4 or 5 weeks. And that was my early football before I went to Queen's Park, actually Queen's Park.
And so they saw something at the youth club and then they snapped you up. Is that how it basically went? So 16, 17, you're playing senior football, or did you still have to progress through the ranks at Queen's Park?
Oh, at Queen's Park Youth and Community, I played there for a year.
Okay.
And then it was just like, out of the blue, the manager of the team, and I'm sorry I've forgotten his name now, because I'm senile now, I'm 63, an old man now. And he said, look, he says, I know a guy at Queen's Park proper, why don't you go up for a trial, I can organise it for you. And I said, oh, that'd be wonderful. And that's how I got introduced into Queen's Park. And I went up for a trial, and I played half a game, took off, and I thought, oh well,
That's it.
that's it. And the manager, the guy Archie Watson, a wonderful, funny man, he said, you're signed. After half time, and he's gone, and he put on another couple of trialists.
Didn't want to show you off too much.
Oh well, it was only a trial, and
He saw enough.
so he saw enough in that first half. And
As
he
a
said,
forward? Always a forward?
I was a right winger.
A right winger.
Yeah.
Can I just stop you right there? One of the things we discover on the Pioneers, week in, week out, is that people love the stories. And a guy has just reached out on Twitter. His name is Ange Bandis. FNR Radio, please send my regards to the legend Jamie Paton. Love his stories, looking forward to the listen. Go Celtic!
Well,
you want to tell him anything?
And you've never had any ambition. you follow the team they're only where they are because the financial trouble that Glasgow Rangers get into.
Now that we've got the sectarian
Gee,
part of
that
it
was
out of the
quick,
show,
The sectarian part hasn't gone yet.
Yeah, okay.
It's not sectarian's religious, football's football. I hate religion. It's killed more people than anything in the history of the world. So I don't like sectarianist religion being talked to. I've talked
Jamie,
about
were you
with
ever
football.
Were you ever a candidate to play for Celtic?
Yes, I was.
Do tell.
Come on.
It's a bit a long story.
Hey, we've got all night.
This is a story show.
Well, I was actually going to sign for Celtic after we played Celtic in a friendly match or a Scottish Cup match at Hampden Park, and before the game, a representative from Aston Villa came up and he actually told me how much I was going to get offered from Celtic to sign for them and how much my wages were going to be. And he said, Ron Saunders will come up on Wednesday to finalise the deal to sign for Aston Villa. And it actually was £45,000 signing on fee in 1976 or something like that, which
Appeal to you.
which would have bought about half a village.
But you weren't planning to buy half a village.
No. And anyway, unfortunately, and it's, look, for a lot of players, it's a player's lament. I actually get injured in that game, tore ligaments in my knee, and that put the kibosh and all that. And that was all very unfortunate.
But you were courted by a bunch of clubs at that time, weren't you?
I was, and it was flattering, and it was wonderful, but there was only one team I ever wanted to play for, and that was Glasgow Rangers.
Yeah.
And that got taken away from me.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. And that was very disappointing, because being a Glasgow Rangers supporter, we played against Glasgow Rangers, and I was man of the match. And being a young boy, 18, the next night I got hauled into the manager's office, Jamie Paton, and he says, "Do you really want to play for this team?" Blah 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 blah, because I was in the nightclub till 3 in the morning before that game, even though it was man of the match, didn't matter. So I got absolutely roasted. He said, "If you don't want to play for the team, just off out the door."
Yep.
And of course, as a little boy, trembling in my boots, and I said, "Oh yeah, I want to play." And he rang up Jock Wallace, who was then the manager of Rangers, and says, "He wants you to stay here for another year."
Slight twist on the truth there.
There was no twist.
No twist.
Now, we're going to take a twist on FNR. This is The Pioneers with George Katsanis and George Donikian, and our very special guest, Jamie Paton.
Welcome back to the Pioneers on Football Nation Radio. We're with our special guests, the two Georges, and Jamie Paton, the goal machine. Now, everyone courted you. You didn't go. You ended up coming and signing for Slavia. Tell us how that came about.
But what happened was,
You did your knee.
unfortunately, playing against the worst team in the world, for me, i.e. Celtic, I get injured
The
and
phone calls are going to come.
and I injured a total ligaments in my knee, got took off at half time, and that was something that stopped to move to Aston Villa. And then part of that recovery, coming back, a friend of mine's, Frank Thompson, who played for Queen's Park, a right back, rather ruthless right back. He actually used to shut your eyes when you saw him going to tackle somebody. I thought Vince Bannon was bad at tackling, but this guy was 10 times worse. And Frank says, "Listen, why don't you come over to Australia?" And I said, "Well, why not?"
Did you know about Australia?
No, I had no idea about Australia, and I thought, well, it's the end of the season, and let's just go and do it. So I popped myself on a plane, took leave from my job as a telephone engineer in Scotland, and came here and fully expecting kangaroos to be jumping down the road, and landed at a wonderful modern airport called Tullamarine, and a freeway all the way into the city, and then enjoyed the nightlife in the wonderful place that's Melbourne. And I thought, how long has this been going on?
A couple of 100 years, actually.
And then I went, this is really great. And I settled in Melbourne very well, and I made a decision then, which, right or wrong, I'm glad I made that decision, because I love the country and everything else that it's given to me, and hopefully someday I'll
Who
get
did you
back.
play for when you arrived, and why did you play for the club you chose?
Oh, well, I actually never chose the club chose me.
They chose you.
Yeah, well, Slavia, Piran Slavia, they were like, sorry for all the Czechoslovakians that are listening here, but Piran Slavia, Czechoslovakian based, they were sort of like meat merchants. They bring players out, they would identify players who had skill, and they would on-sell them, and like from Slavia, it's amazing amount of players that went on to play for Australia from Slavia. Jimmy Tansey, myself,
John
Eisendorn.
Plenty played NSL,
Yeah,
plenty. But
plenty.
Wadey went through Slavia.
Paul Wade.
And a lot of those boys also went on to Heidelberg.
That's right. I think half of that was planned, and Len McKendry would have had a lot to do with that.
Do you reckon there was a little bit of
I thought it
planting
was-
through the Slavia
Sorry,
produce.
John?
Do you think there might have been some planting? Let Slavia do the work, get them through, and perhaps we'll cherry pick them. Maybe Heidelberg.
Yeah, but they had to pay.
bigger
They
plan.
had to pay to
Of course
get
they
Jamie
paid.
Paton.
Look, it wasn't cherry picking. What happened with Slavia is they brought players, and that's how the club survived. They didn't have a great
Yeah, they're a
support.
selling club.
And so they'd get players in, they'd pay $1,000 or whatever the airfare was, and they sell them for $5.
Yeah.
So that's how they run the club. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's heaps of clubs all around the world are selling clubs.
What were your memories like though when you were there? Tell us about the time you had at Slavia.
Slavia was funny. I remember it was the first time that I ever went to a dressing room, and the first night I went to training, and it was like, "Where's your boots? Where's your kit?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Where's your training kit? Where's your boots?" And I'm going, "Well, they should be here."
I mean, accounted for.
Yeah.
They hadn't accounted that you hadn't brought anything with you.
So that was your first shock, was it?
Yeah, that was my very first shock, apart from training at Raleigh Reserve in Paran, which was in the middle of a public park. But it was all great fun at Paran. I thoroughly enjoyed my time at Paran Slavia,
On and off the field?
both.
Yeah.
Off the field was very interesting. First pub I went to was a pub full of Czechoslovakians, and it was in the Village Bell, and I thought, my goodness, what have I come to? But
And
it
then
was all
beer is
wonderful.
cold.
Beer's cold, that's all you need.
Multicultural Melbourne. All right, so you had a bit of fun there, and then the good stuff started coming. Clubs would have started courting you. Heidelberg obviously did. Did you have other options before going to Heidelberg? Were there other alternatives?
Yeah, I had the option to go to Sydney City, which was only a minimal interest, but St George were very, 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 very adamant they wanted me.
Was Frank Garrock in charge then?
Yes, he
Yep,
was.
yep. Okay.
And actually, Frank says, if you come and play for St George, I guarantee you, you'll play for Australia.
Of course. Inner sanctum, see?
Yeah. And I said to Frank, Frank, if I'm good enough to play for Australia, I'll get there, no matter who I'm playing for.
Very good.
Very cool. All right, so Heidelberg come knocking. Len McKendry, was he in charge when did he sign you from Heidelberg, or did someone else get you first?
Len was in charge of the Victorian team,
Okay.
and we had a wonderful squad of players like you wouldn't believe. But me and Len, we had a close friendship, which is unusual between coaches and players. And we actually used to end up sort of in the same nightclubs and things, which was unfortunate for me because when we got to training, when everybody was heading off the training track, and I'm first off going, Len go, where are you going? And he'd shout me back, and we might and say, what is it? And I'd do another 15 minutes. With Len, he'd just go run, because he knew what my lifestyle was. And it was wonderful, and I respected
You
it.
needed a bit of work, extra work.
I didn't really, because I'd been naturally fit, but it didn't bother me, but it showed me how much he cared for me. In football terms, I would say Lenny would almost be like being my father in Australia.
Well, he cared enough to spend $25,000 at that time, and that was an awful lot of money to get you from a state league club to Heidelberg, an NSL club.
Well, Len built that Heidelberg team, and it started with getting Jakubanovic. And
Goalkeeper, yes.
And Lenny had told me he was building a team for Heidelberg while he was still the Victorian manager.
Okay.
And he while he was Victorian manager, he wasn't allowed to have a club team. So, which is why he wanted the club involvement desperately. And so he'd already arranged, I think, John Margaritis. No, not John Margaritis. The president of the club,
Mangopoulos?
Jim Mangopoulos.
Jim Mangopoulos, yeah.
That he was going to take over, but he was only going to take over under the proviso that certain players were signed, and one was Jakubanovic, myself, and John Eisendorf.
That's not a bad trio, is it, eh?
It's a good way to start,
If
isn't
you're
it?
going to start a team, you've got a goalkeeper, you've got a sensational midfielder, and you've got a guy who can bang in the goals at the other end. And you had done that in the State League, hadn't you?
Yeah.
18 goals? And
I'm not
first
quite
one?
sure. I'm not.
Oh, you weren't counting?
I've never counted anything. That's why I'm bust.
Yeah.
No, I've never counted my goals. I've never been a statistician.
Yes, but Stato and others have, and they continue to build whole books about stats and goals that you scored.
You love a goal.
I love a goal. Everybody loves a goal.
Hey.
But I remember that there was an article in Soccer Action which George has got a photograph. I think I scored 47 goals and about 45 goals in 47 games or something
Well,
like
clearly you weren't trying. Had you really wanted to make an impact, you would have.
that. I'm glad the nightclubs were there to help the other teams.
Tell me, I want to know, what did you think when you spied a guy called Gary Cole? First time you saw him. Did you think you were going to strike up a real duo, Batman and Robin?
Not really, but I thought Gary was so big and tall and strong, and I thought I was probably an ideal sort of player to play off him, because Gary was the number one striker, and everybody knows that. But then he becomes second striker.
Now, you teamed up with Gary. Now, I call you, when I described the partnership, Lillian Thompson.
Oh.
Blakey sort of said Simon and Garfunkel, which I quite enjoyed. And Andy Bazika said Abbott and Costello.
Oh, that's good.
I don't know if that's quite fair.
So
but-
Batman and Robin
Well-
just didn't get it, huh?
No.
but-
Well, actually, Gary's a better singer than me,
okay, well, there you go.
and he's a better comedian than me,
Oh,
especially when he's on the football pitch.
yeah.
All right, so you've moved to Heidelberg. And in,
$25,000, thank you very much.
you know, it's a good little package. Heidelberg did all right out of John Eisendorf and Jamie. You paired up with Coley, the goals come. You had a great supporting cast.
It was a flood. They didn't just come, mate. It was a flood.
Don't worry, I remember them. I think I was there for every one of them. Andy Bazikas, Theo Selamides, you had Jimmy Campbell, Kenny Taylor. The support cast, Jimmy Rooney, was endless, right?
Well, I wanted to say that, George,
Sorry.
because really, me and Gary got the headlines, and we were the guys scoring goals. And I'll tell you something, me and Gary, forget me and Gary, it was all the players you just mentioned. They done everything. We got the glory. We tapped the goals and we scored the goals. It was our midfield that made Heidelberg the strength of the team that we were. We were good at scoring goals, but we're only good at scoring goals because of that strong midfield that George just mentioned.
Yeah, there was a lot of talent in that.
It was a superb crop of players who just went on and played for Australia. But that side could hold them, could be creative when they needed to be, and you guys at the front were a lethal combo.
Yeah, because that was all the coaching, and it was probably the first structured coaching that I'd played under, because Len McKenzie was so methodical, and how he made the players move to get into spaces, to come out of spaces, to make space for the midfield players to come forward. And I remember, for a midfield player, I remember one night on a Tuesday night after a game, Theo getting such a rocket, Theo Selamides that is, because he only had 6 shots at goal. He's a midfield player. He got a rocket, he only had 6 shots at goal. But that was our team, because that's what was expected.
The expectations were high,
Yeah.
and well said.
Yeah.
Now, with that success, and Heidelberg were successful,
Yeah, they
and they
came
were a
second
great
that
side,
year to
No,
Sydney.
I don't think we were as successful, anywhere near as successful
as you should have been.
as we should have been.
No, I'm not going to argue with that. I've got plenty of heartache still burning from the last Cup finals, don't worry. But you were lucky from that success. You did get some Socceroo call-ups, and you played for the Socceroos, and you went on a tour, is that right? You went on the Europe tour,
Yeah, that's correct.
right? And you spent some time with our good friend Rudy, because Rudy's pretty popular on the show, right? And it's going about 50-50, the for and against Rudy. I just want you to tell me how Rudy worked for you. as a coach?
Rudy was a very interesting man.
That's a good start.
Diplomacy plus.
Yeah, well, the diplomacy's going to end up in Rudy was a very different man, and for me, personally, I thought he had absolutely no idea about what's happening in the football park. I remember I've actually written this team down here.
And by the way, for those of you that are not in the studio, he actually has got a list, and he's got a bunch of names. And go for it, Jamie.
Now, Rudy was known for his defensiveness, and we were playing in, I think it was against Fiorentina, and this was the team: Steve Perry fullback, Tony Henderson centre half. I've got to put my glasses on here.
Hendo was not a bad player.
Yeah.
Hey,
Gary Mayer was a
Marconi,
keeper.
man, did very well. Thank you very much.
Gary Mayer was a keeper. I'm just reading this off the
Yeah,
photograph.
lean forward again.
Yeah,
next to the
I'll lean
microphone.
forward and we'll go. So we'll go through the forwards in this team. Gary Cole forward, Murray Barnes defender, Davo, Alan Davidson, Ivo Pascalo sweeper, Ken Bowden forward, me forward, Peter Sham forward, Eddie Crunchwick forward.
So 5 defenders and 5 forwards.
Now, where's the midfield?
You don't need. Clearly, you don't need a midfield. There you
We get belted.
go.
I dare say the analysis.
Embarrassingly belted.
I was going to say the analysis might have said lost in midfield. Okay, so that's a fit. But you've had some good fun with him in the bar.
Rudy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when we played England in Birmingham, and that was a wonderful experience in itself. Some genius located us in Ipswich, outside Ipswich, and the only game we were playing in England was against England in Birmingham, which is like 4 hours away.
Okay.
Wonderful.
They must have had a certain contract with the bus company.
We were actually using Ipswich training grounds. It was an absolutely wonderful facility.
Well, that's what it was about, trying to get you in the comfort zone.
Yeah. And so we got up there, and unfortunately we could beat. I think we could beat 2-1. Gary missed another great chance, or else we wouldn't have lost. And after the game, players, no alcohol, no one allowed to drink. Wednesday night, we're not playing again for 10 days.
A 10-day break, and you got a no alcohol rule.
No alcohol. And so we're there, and all the England players are there, having a beer.
Come on, drop some names.
No, I won't drop them.
Come on.
No. I can't even remember them. anyway, so my mum and my family and a few of my friends have come down to the game. So I brought up to the bar, got a pint of lager, and Les Scheinflug comes up, and Les goes, "Jamie, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm having a beer. What do you think I'm doing?" He says, "Rudy says no beer." I said, "Look, it's like this, Les. I don't speak to the organ grinder. I'd rather speak to the organ grinder than monkey." I said, "My mum and my family's here, and I'm going to have a drink with them."
Yeah.
I said, "We're not playing for 10 days. These guys are playing in 3 days. So I don't know what the problem is." And 2 minutes later, Rudy turns up and goes, Amy, because he couldn't say Jamie. Germans can't say Joe. And he's gone, Amy. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm having a beer with my mum." He said, "Oh, Mrs. Paton." So I introduced them to my family.
God.
And then all of a sudden it was like that, and everybody could have a beer.
Oh,
So
so
it's-
your mum's the magician.
Yeah, so all of a sudden everybody could have a beer. And it was just absolutely ridiculous. How do you treat grown men like that after a game? It's just like, it was ridiculous. I just found the man probably intolerable is a good word.
Intolerable.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good word.
Any training sessions that spring to mind that could be interesting stories under Rudy?
In Athens, and I actually before we come on air, I demonstrated to George a little thing that happened at training, which was wonderful.
Shown to you by Rudy?
Oh no!
Oh.
It was we were playing one-touch football,
Okay.
and the ball get passed to me, and I put my foot on it, but I never took my foot off it. And I got little, I can't remember who it was, to come to run to me. I just walked it past them. And Rudy's gone, "Amy, what are you doing? Amy. He said, "One touch." I said, "It is one touch." "What, Rudy? One touch, look. Oh, one touch. You too smart, you too clever. Get off."
Oh. So basically, he gave you a day off or a night off in Greece.
It wasn't a day off or a night off, it was go and sit and wait for the bus to take us back to the hotel. Which was probably quite good because it was about 950 degrees.
There you go. You're listening to Jamie Paton, or as he just told us,
Amy,
Amy Paton.
yeah.
Really good. You'll clearly have a problem with the letter J. This is on FNR, The Pioneers. It's the show that comes up every Thursday between 7 and 8 o'clock. And we'll have more of Jamie Paton very shortly.
Welcome back
Great
to
mention my wife.
Football Nation Radio.
That was Amy again.
That was Amy
Yeah.
speaking at it. Now he's learnt to use the microphone when we don't want
Scary
him to
stuff.
talk.
When you give them a little bit of what we tell them is called radio technique, and they take it to another level.
Absolutely.
It's because he's a winger.
Hey, settle down.
Wouldn't you?
You're outnumbered. The goal machine, Jamie. Just before we get on to Footscray JOST, because there's some players there that you played with, superstars,
Some
and
terrific
want
players.
to mention. But there was a Victorian game because you played for Victoria in a very successful era with the Cummings and the Gilders and the Eisendorns, Butch Kokoska, superstars, right? And it was a very interesting time for Victorian state team. There was a game where you couldn't get in the ground. What happened there?
Oh, that was quite hilarious. We'll blame that to some silly Scottish person who, for some reason, thought his authority was so supreme that he could dictate who could get in the ground, who couldn't get in the ground.
Oh.
So
Olympic Park we're talking about, right?
yeah, that's right. And I think his name, I won't mention his name.
His initials George Wallace?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
But anyway, we turned up on the team bus. We got off the team bus and we got to walk in through the turnstiles. That was wonderful. No driving in and that. Just
Hang on, you came on the team bus and you still couldn't get in?
Yeah. Well, but an authoritarian figure says, "Where's your tickets?" And it's like, we're the team.
Did you not have a Victorian tracksuits on or nothing?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
But that made us even more invisible. And it was just like, no, if you're not getting the tickets, you can't get in. And then eventually Glenn McHenry exploded, and eventually somebody come and went, what's going on here? I think it was against Partizan Belgrade. And eventually they let us in. And we the team.
What was it, half time when they let you in? Or?
Well, if they let us in the first half, we'd have won by more.
Fair enough. All right, so you went to JOST, which is a very strong club in the NSL at the time. Played with some great players. What made you move? Was it necessity? Or was it change? What happened at Heidelberg?
What happened at Heidelberg was probably a huge disappointment for me.
Yeah.
It was probably the biggest disappointment in my football career.
Because you love the club, right?
Of course I loved the club. And we got beat by Green Gully in the Apple Cup final.
4 or 5-0, because I remember that one too.
5.
Yeah, okay.
Ouch.
And Glenn McKendy was coaching Green Gully at that time.
So he knew
Yeah.
how to close you guys down.
Well, he knew how to play against us. And Ken Morton was a coach. My contract was up for renewal. I refused to sign it. So I get put on the bench. And that suited me. So we could beat 5-0 or 4-0. We had about 10 minutes to go. And it was Ken Morton, warm up, you get on. I said, I'm going to score 5 goals in 5 minutes. and obviously I had to go on. And so I went on the park. I lasted a minute. Stuart Cannells came in from behind me. He's dragged his studs all the way down the back of my thigh, down the back of my legs. I just turned around and punched him, and I'm not a violent person. And he went down like a sack. And I'm gone. I can't use the language I used,
No.
but I'm going, Stuart, please get up. You blah 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 blah. It wasn't good enough punch. I want to give you another one. Anyway, so Stuart had already put Jimmy Campbell in hospital in that game.
Yeah, he did too. Yeah.
And he actually ripped the calf muscles off Jimmy's legs.
Whoa.
And it was just like, so I turned around and Stuart, Chris Bainbridge was referee, and I went, don't worry about it, I'm gone. So I walked off, and then after that, went back to training on Tuesday night, and I actually got accused of selling the game
Oh dear.
because I was sleeping with Len McKendry's daughter, who he doesn't have a daughter. So what I want to.
Well,
Yeah,
I
great
can tell you, I
stories.
was at that game.
Yeah.
And
You
this
saw
is-
the daughter?
No.
Okay.
I remember the result, but I can remember we hadn't walked out of the stadium, hadn't got out of the turnstiles, and that rumour had already started circulating. So the game had been finished for 3 minutes, and
Wow.
that story had started spreading, and it really pissed me off. I can tell you at the time that you could come up with a theory like that games are getting sold, let alone by superstars like our great guest here.
Fans-
So it's
fans
funny.
sometimes-
We've never
who
discussed
wasn't
this
even
before.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, fans sometimes invest so much of themselves in a team that when the result doesn't go the way they want it to, they have to find
A reason.
way to get out, feel better, and sometimes it manifests in terrible stories. And you got to feel for the people. And we apologise all these years later, Jamie or Amy, for those terrible accusations.
Now tell us about JUST. Sorry, no, you go.
Maybe-
Go.
Before
So
we
hang
go,
on, why JUST?
before we go to JST,
Yep.
Fans are fans. I love the fans, and they can think what they want, but I just found it distressing that the committee thought to ask me that question.
After that time of being with the club.
And I just thought, how disgraceful was that?
Yeah.
And I felt so upset. So I'm still involved with the club, and I've been involved with the club for a long time.
Yep.
So all the people who've had bad experiences with the clubs in the past, forget them, build bridges, get over them, get back to the clubs that are your clubs,
Yeah.
and forget the past and get on with the future and build the clubs that you were supporters or players for.
That's what it's
And
about.
keep
isn't
Well
it?
said. Well
And,
said.
and that's what it's all about.
Don't be a fair weather fan, in other words. Stick through thick and thin and support your club, and that's what it's about. And FNR is doing that and has done it from day one. We've been on air 6 months now, George. 6 months from that very first day.
And you don't
when we
look
had
a day
guy,
older.
when we had a guy called, what did you call him? The number,
The first one?
the first Heidelberg player
It was
we
the
had
mountain.
sitting in that chair.
The Mount. Oh no, the first one, Gary Cole.
Not Gary Cole.
Charlie Ankos was.
Charlie Yankos. Well, that's true. He sat in another chair in another state, but he spoke to us, and he spoke with such feeling, such warmth, and such commitment. We were, as they say, besotted and became bigger fans of that player than we had before, and we thought he was special.
All right, JUST. We're going to get there eventually. Now, tell
Why
us-
JUST?
Yeah.
Well, when I left Heidelberg, and it upset me so much. That was me finished with football, and that was it. No more football for Jamie
How
Paton.
old were you at this stage? 27 or something?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. And Bobby McLaughlin got a hold of me, and he's gone, Jamie, what are you doing? I said, I'm finished. He said, you can't be finished. He said, you got too much to offer. And then, so Bobby talked me into coming to play for Just. And so I went and played for Just. And it was cathartic for me, because it was good to come back and say, well, I've been away for probably 8 months or something, as a young man retired for the game that you love.
Yeah.
And
You're a long time retired.
yeah. And I thought, well, why not? And then to go back and then become almost the top goal scorer in the NSL again. I scored 17 goals or something for Footscray that year. 16, 17, something like that.
But you're not counting.
Yeah, something like that. I just
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
around about
Stado
there.
probably sent him a text earlier.
Yeah.
You can tell me, you have his stats there. And it was just like, and so that reinvigorated me, but it wasn't the same as playing for Heidelberg. It really wasn't. And I played there for 2 years, and it was wonderful to find out when Warren Spink broke my goal scoring record for Footscray just in the NSL, like 16 years after I'd stopped playing. I never even knew about that until I read it in the Herald Sun, and I went, oh wow. So Footscray gave me an opportunity to come back in again and play again, and again
You fell in love with the game again.
I
That was important.
I fell in love with it. I've never fell out of love with it. I just fell out of love with the people who run it.
Yeah.
which happens to
Yeah,
all of us.
we can understand. We've all been there.
Then how did you end up at Prant Celtic then after that?
Well, I've decided I've retired again.
Okay. That old chestnut.
Yeah, and a good friend of mine, Hugh Murray, is gone.
Shaggy.
Shaggy, everyone knows Shaggy.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
We
Shaggy.
had Shocker Miles in here. He knows Shaggy.
Everybody knows Shuggy's bistro better than knows Shuggy. No, but anyway, so Shuggy's gone because we used to always drink in a bar called the Windsor Castle Hotel, which is like an institute for football players in Melbourne. And Shuggy's gone, why don't you come and play for Prant Celtic? And I've gone, Prant Celtic? Okay. So I was talked to it, and it's no money involved, nothing, just playing football. And so it was like, let's have a race down here. So I was working for Telstra at the time, Telecom at that time, and I'd race around and come on at half time, or after half time, whenever I got there. And that was the gist of it. I actually got the worst injury I ever got in my life playing football, playing for Prant Celtic. But I remember the first game, playing for Prant Celtic, and after the game, Shuggy and Joe Dockery, they're like that. They were as happy as pigs and shit, seeing me wearing a Celtic strip. And they've gone like that, oh, we never thought we'd ever see you with a Celtic strip on. And I pulled off the Celtic strip.
You got Rangers.
And underneath it, I had the Rangers strip.
I love it.
Very good.
And in that same team was another good football player, Rangers supporter, Gus McLeod, and an even better football player from Dundee, who you may know of, Jimmy Rooney.
Peter Pan of soccer.
Yeah. And so the three of us and Kenny Taylor were playing for
And
Prant Celtic.
Kenny's due on this show in a few weeks, just
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful to play for Prant Celtic because it was like going back to you were 16 or something, like
Yeah,
17.
yeah.
It was all just get on the park and play. It was like I don't mean this in a bad manner. It was Prant Celtic. It was like playing for a pub team. And it was just
But you
great fun.
enjoyed it, didn't
It was
you?
great fun. Just
Okay.
great fun.
Which is what you needed at that time, huh?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got some highlights listed here. We want to make sure that we
Accurate.
accurate.
Yeah.
Now I want you to mention the two most important people in those highlights that you've written down here. Your wife,
And my son.
yes.
And by the way, we should mention that you locked her out tonight. By
Not
accident.
deliberately.
It's by accident. What's her name? I'm sorry.
Kim.
Kim.
Kim, it is only by accident, all right? Apologies.
33 years married, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. 33
Happy
years
anniversary.
married.
Congratulations.
Hopefully another 33.
Well,
Very
it
good.
depends on how she feels about being locked out tonight. But and of course, young Tim, who's a star on this station on a Wednesday night on Clubland. You went back and played for Juventus.
That's correct.
How did that come about?
Len McKendry, funny enough.
Heard him around. He's
Common denominator here.
And so, again, I'm retired, and Len's gone, look, Jamie, he says, why don't you come back and have another crack? And I've gone, yeah. And I've been quite fortunate in being naturally fit.
naturally fit.
Yeah, it doesn't take me long to get fit
Okay.
from being unfit.
Sure.
And blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we played. We got the semi-finals of the Night Cup. I don't know what it's called. It might be called the Buffalo Cup by then. Or
Yes, it
something.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to the semi-final and went to extra time, and I've been training for 2 weeks. I was still running when the players who've been training for 6-7 weeks were falling down. and so the next week I was asked to go and play in the youth team, and I just went, no thanks. And that was me, finished forever.
So you pulled the boots at what, 29 years of age?
Yeah.
And then you didn't go to the football for about another 20 years. Why?
Oh no, just I'd done my bit with football, and
But that's a long time not to go again.
I just finished playing football,
And you'd had enough.
and along came young Tim,
Yep.
and Tim reignited my fervour for football.
Yep.
And so I got involved again in football, and
You went back to Heidelberg.
I went back to Heidelberg. Is Tim went and trialled for the NSL
Yep.
for South Melbourne, and something bad happened there, which I won't talk about in a moment. And then he went to Heidelberg, and I stood in the background, not to be seen, because I didn't want anything to happen. Timmy get picked because he was my son. He get picked on his own rights, and he went through playing in the NSL. I ended up becoming team manager, and then it just folded in to becoming full part of the club again.
Fantastic.
And
the journey,
so
the circle of life brought us back to Heidelberg.
yeah.
And that's great news. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show, for being a supporter of our show and being a supporter of mine. You're a good mate now, and I'm happy to call you a mate. I also want to thank you for the great memories, especially the names we mentioned before, that exciting team in the early 80s at Heidelberg. What a joy it's been to watch you play, and still a joy to watch games with you these days. And I wish you good luck going forward and the best of health to you, Kim and Tim and the family.
And we cannot tell you how much we were looking forward to getting you in the studio, and you've lived up to all the hype, is all I can say, Jamie Paton. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's been a wonderful experience to be here.
See you next week on the Pioneers.
FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Luciano's, no call! Score!
Salamini for Cole. Cole on the run. Shoots. 2-0.
Lazanovsky with the free kick. Launches a rocket! Trimboli, what vision! Blasts.
Yes! That's it! Miljevic.
Beautiful ball. Here's Bozanic. They might have won it.
The Pioneers with George Donikian and George Kotzanis on FNR, Football Nation Radio.